I loved your answer, Mike, on like how you saw the Kentucky Derby going, and I would love for you to give us a similar answer here on how you see the Preakness going.
Yeah, of course. So this is going to be very different than what we saw in the Kentucky Derby. We saw that 21 and change opening quarter, 45 and change opening half. We really have one horse that wants to lead, and that's going to be the 5-horse early voting. He's going to go to the front. He's not going to go that fast. We're probably looking at somewhere in the 47 range for the opening half mile, which is going to be significantly slower and make it significantly more difficult for horses from the back of the pack to be able to really rush on. It sets up very, very well for your favorite in this spot, Epicenter, who ends up running second in the Derby and really ran a monster race. He was the only horse in the top 8 that stuck around at all, and he would have won the race if Rich Strike didn't make that monster move up the rail. So this just sets up perfectly for Epicenter to sit right behind right behind early voting and be able to kind of take over in that final turn and try and run away from him and see if anyone can come catch him.
Is there anything historically on, horses, if they perform a certain way in the Derby and then obviously turn it around really quickly and run in the Preakness? Like, are there certain types of horses you tend to fade in that situation? Obviously, we have, several horses who are running again, Simplification, who ran in the Derby, Happy Jack, I think ran in the Derby, and Epicenter ran in the Derby. Like, do you dock those horses from like a fatigue standpoint? I think there's only 3 of them in the race. How do you treat them? And maybe this deals only with like the non-Epicenter horses, right? Which would be Simplification and Happy Jack.
I definitely dock them a little bit. Look, these horses are not used to coming back in 2 weeks. So what I love about the Preakness is that you get a lot of what I call new shooters, right? Horses that skipped the Derby or didn't qualify for the Derby and specifically were pointing toward this race. And in this case, early voting, the 5 horses, one of those new shooters comes in for the Chad Brown barn. It's interesting. He had Zandon, who ran third in the Kentucky Derby, and chose to skip Zandon from the Preakness just because he was planning for early voting to run this race the entire time. So that's kind of one of your classic new shooters. It's interesting. You also have an interesting new shooter in the number 2 horse Creative Minister, who is coming back and ran in a optional claimer race, but that was actually on Kentucky Derby day. So he's still coming back in that 2 weeks. So even though he is technically a new shooter, he still has that quick turnaround, which I don't love. And